It is also important to realize there are different research methods that developmental psychologists use. So there are three primary research designs, and they're all here on this page. So the goals of this vodcast are to take you through the three, compare and contrast them, introduce you to the vocabulary, the methodology, and the strengths and weaknesses of especially the first two, longitudinal and cross-sectional. So let's take a look. Remember, you can pause me at any time. Now, all of these studies have to do with studying a factor. So maybe to help us through this graph, this chart, let's just make believe we're studying memory. That's our factor that we're studying. Well, a longitudinal study, the important thing here is that we're actually studying the same people at various times through their lives. So that might be studying, a group of people who are 5 years old. So it's a group of people, by the way. So 5 years old, when they're 10 years old, and maybe when they're 15 years old, and maybe say there's 10 people in each group. That doesn't really matter right now. But the idea is it's not just one person. Then you're really trying to see, are there changes that we can say are related to their age? Now, there's some benefits of doing this, but there are also some challenges. And one, it's that many of these studies, there are some longitudinal studies that follow people over an 80-year period. They're costly. Sometimes people die, and also it takes a long time to get results. Now, there's another type of study called cross-sectional, and that's when we have different people, different participants of various ages compared at one time, and this is really to study age-related differences, not age-related changes. And we call the people in one group a cohort. Those are people who tend to be born in the same year, and what's important is they share the same cultural and historical experiences. So for instance, in this case, we might be studying, say, 15-year-olds. That's one cohort. And again, let's just say there's 10 people in each. 25-year-olds, 10 people again, and 35-year-olds, and upward and onward. We can go we can do as many groups as possible. And you're studying them at one time and potentially giving them a memory test. Now, one of the problems with this that especially happens is something called the cohort effect. Now, let's just say one of these groups was 75 years old, and we're giving that cohort, that group of 75-year-olds, the same test we're giving 15 and 25-year-olds. And let's say to expedite our research, we're doing it via a computer. Now, the fact that 75-year-olds may not be as comfortable on a computer can impact our results. This is just one example of the cohort effect, which is here. So that acts as a confounding variable. That's one of the challenges when we're doing cross-sectional research, is that the cohort effect can influence our results. Now, the last part of the last research method is called cross-sequential or cohort sequential. Think of it as a combination of these two. Okay? So it's a combination of the two of them, and you can read the information in the boxes here. It tends to, we don't really tend to need to know the challenges or the weaknesses too much of this. They obviously consist of both, but the weaknesses and challenges are much more likely to be discussed when talking about longitudinal and cross-sectional studies.